Emergency funds get a lot of talk here in the YouTube world. Obviously, everyone knows that you can keep them in a checking account, but in the realm of emergency funds, there are actually a few places to keep your emergency fund to best optimize your cash. Gone are the days of storing your cash under your mattress, and really gone are the days of keeping your emergency fund in your checking account. I'll be sharing with you the 4 places that you should be stashing your emergency fund. And then I'll show you which one is best for you and how I personally keep my emergency fund. Hey guys, my name is Adrienne. Welcome back to my channel. I make videos every Monday on all things investing and personal finance, so you should definitely click the subscribe button if you want to stick around. Before I go into the 4 places, there are a couple important things to know about emergency fund money. First of all, emergency fund money needs to be very liquid, meaning it needs to be easily accessible. And this is because you could need the money on a whim, obviously, because you would need it in the event of an emergency. It's not to be invested in stocks or anywhere the value could fluctuate and you risk the value being low when you absolutely need it. The second thing is an emergency fund should be looked at as insurance on yourself, not an investment. So that being said, this money is not meant for you to make more money, but to be used so that you don't have to go into debt to pay for an emergency. There are a few places where you can optimize your cash to get a better interest for it than just a normal checking account. And because these 2 aspects are very important, I'll be rating the 4 places to keep your emergency fund on a scale of 1 to 10 on these 2 aspects: its liquidity and its interest rate. So the first place to keep your emergency fund is a CD, or a certificate of deposit. When purchasing a CD, there is a predetermined fixed amount of time and fixed interest rate at which you are purchasing the CD at. CDs can be purchased at a fixed rate anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to 9 months, up to a year, 2 years, 5 years, or even longer. When you purchase a CD, you are locked in and you really can't access that money without penalties for whatever fixed term you agreed to. Some people like to take advantage of what is called a CD ladder, and I could do a whole other video on what a CD ladder is. It's a little bit of a confusing topic. Basically, what a CD ladder is when you divide a sum of money equally and invest them in CDs of different maturity dates. For example, if you had an emergency fund of $10,000, a CD ladder could consist of you splitting that $10,000 into 5 $2,000 chunks, and then you could go purchase 5 different CDs with 5 different maturity dates, let's say of 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, and 5 months. And when the maturity date of each of those ends, use the money from each of those CDs to purchase another 5-month CD. This allows you to maximize the interest rate of the CD, but it also ensures that you'll have money at any available month if you have an emergency. Obviously, the longer the maturity date, the higher your interest rate is going to be, and you can purchase a CD through a financial institution, and I'm pretty sure you can also purchase them through banks. But it may be best for you to purchase a CD through whatever financial institution you already are using. Bankrate.com publishes a monthly list of the highest interest rate CDs, and I will put this month's right here. However, do note that interest rates do fluctuate depending on the maturity date of the CD that you're purchasing. Because of the limited accessibility of these funds, I'm going to give the liquidity a rating of 3, and so for CDs I will give the interest rate a level 9. The next place you can park your emergency fund is called a money market fund. A money market fund is actually a type of mutual fund, and although I would typically put a mutual fund under a stock umbrella, a money market fund is a little bit different from that. This kind of fund only invests in extremely liquid short-term investments, which allows them to offer high liquidity for a pretty low risk. It actually acts very similarly to having cash, but at a higher interest rate rather than a typical savings account. And these interest rates are actually paid in the form of dividends from the fund to the fund owner. And obviously in any market, there's no guarantee of returns, as opposed to a CD when there is a guaranteed return. In terms of liquidity, fund owners actually need to request their funds in order to get access to them. Funds are required to pay out within 7 days of the fund owner's request. Money market funds can be purchased through financial institutions and banks. Because it takes up to 7 days to access this money, I'm going to give this a liquidity rate of 7. I found that the interest rates on money market funds are slightly lower than CDs, although when I initially purchased my money market funds, they were about the same. Because they are typically slightly lower, I'm going to give this an interest rate level 8. Before I go to the next place to park your emergency fund, be sure to like this video if you have found it helpful and hit the subscribe button to support my channel if you have found this helpful. helpful. The next place to park your money is actually called a money market account. Not to be confused with a money market fund. A money market account acts more like a blend between a savings account and a checking account. And by that, I mean you are allowed to withdraw money up to 6 times per month like a typical savings account. But money market accounts tend to have a higher interest rate than checking accounts and savings accounts, which is why it's one of the preferred methods among the industry for stashing your emergency fund. Money market accounts can be purchased also through your financial institution or a bank. Because money in a money market account is slightly more liquid than it is in a money market fund, I'm going to give this a liquidity rate of 8. And while this does have a higher liquidity rate, the interest rates typically on money market accounts are a little bit lower, which is why I'm going to give this an interest rate level of 7. The next place to park your emergency fund is a high yield savings account. A high yield savings account are just that. It is a savings account with high interest. It acts just like a normal savings account would, but a lot of times to get the higher interest rate, you typically have to go to a bank that is not your normal bank. For example, at the recording of this video, the high yield savings account with the highest interest rate is through videvo Bank, which has an APY of 1.2%. However, for me, that's not where I typically do my banking, so I would have to go outside of my normal banking world in order to get a higher interest rate. So because this money acts just like a savings account, it acts very similarly in terms of liquidity to a money market account, which is why I'm going to give this a liquidity level of 8, just like the money market account. And although this has a higher liquidity, you are sacrificing in the interest, which is why I'm going to give this an interest rate level of 6. So how do you choose? You probably expected there's no one right answer for everybody. Obviously, then there wouldn't be all of these options, but there are a few things to really keep in mind when you're choosing where to keep your emergency fund. First of all, think about liquidity. How quickly do you think you'll actually need to access these funds? And the second thing is the interest rate. How much interest are you willing to sacrifice for a higher liquidity? And the third thing is some of these have a minimum deposit or a minimum balance that you have to keep in order to have these accounts. Personally, I use a money market fund to keep my emergency fund. I found that when I purchased the money market funds that they had roughly the same interest rate as the CDs I was looking at. Otherwise, I was going to go with the CDs, but because the money market funds are a little bit more liquid than a CD, I figured that I would prefer my money to be a little bit more liquid than have a little bit of a higher interest rate. And also for me, I can typically get away with putting an emergency charge on my credit card and then paying it off when that credit card payment is due, which is usually like a month after I make the charge. Let me know how you stash your emergency fund in the comments below, or how you are planning to keep your emergency fund. If you found this video helpful, definitely go ahead and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next Monday. Bye guys. Bye bye.